Gustavo Steinberg, you recently made the movie Tito and the Birds, a Brazilian movie, an animated movie. It's a beautiful movie. Where did the idea for this movie come from?
Oh, thank you, first of all. Well, the idea was to make a movie to talk about this new kind of fear that is going on in the world, fear that is brought by the media, the social networks, a fear that is kind of taking over the world. It translates in many different ways in different countries, but everybody kinds of understands what it is about. But I wanted to make this film about fear for kids. I wanted to talk to kids about some of these complicated issues that are happening in the world, and that was the original idea. That's why we came up with the idea of a fear disease, because we thought it was a very graphic way to translate it in a way that is easy to understand for kids, and yeah, and that works well in many different ways.
And what about what about this sort of message about fear? It made you want to convey the sort of message specifically for children. What was it that attracted you to that idea?
Well, I come from a very big city. I don't know if you know it. It's São Paulo.
Hmm.
It's like 20 million people. Fear is something that's really in the air. So you like lots of people living behind walls and fences and barbed wire, electric wire, condos. So it's something that it was really like something that you can really see how like people get afraid by seeing other people afraid. And I wanted to talk about that and the relationship of media with that, like how media has been constantly feeding all these fear messages and creating more like sensationalism about this, and what it is used for, and what it turns the world into. That was my original goal, and it has kept being the same goal. But the thing is that in many ways, I think, and we've been asked by a few journalists, so did you change the story with like many events that have happened? Because we've taken like 8 years to make the movie, so it was a long time, a long process, and many things happened during this time. And we actually didn't change the story much. Of course, we changed the story to make it better, to make it look good, and to make it work. But actually, the actual storyline has remained the same, pretty much the same from the start. What Danielle sometimes says is that I think the world caught up with the story. So yeah.
And what I felt is also interesting is so Brazil has been your home country of Brazil has been in the news quite a bit in the past couple of weeks. I know that as you said that the film took 8 years to make, but I mean Brazil has been in a really tricky political situation over the past several years, and sort of culminated with the presidential election that happened a couple of weeks ago, at least the first round. And I was wondering if any of Brazil's current political situation, as it's evolved over the last couple of years, is reflected in the film.
Oh, most definitely. It was as I said, it was difficult to predict that it was going to get that bad. Brazil right now is about to elect a guy who's outspokenly supportive of the dictatorship, who says that he has said so many absurd things. I mean, he says that his personal hero was one of the greatest torturers that we had in the dictatorship 30 years ago. And it's really, everything that is happening is really connected to fear, to that kind of fear that I was talking about. And it's not me saying it, it's like political analysts, it's like journalists, it's really people getting really afraid of some things that don't even exist. Not to mention fake news, and they get afraid of fake news that are completely absurd. And they say like the most absurd things. I could give like so many examples about this, but yes, it's definitely about that. I could not predict that it was going to get so bad, but I guess somehow we were looking in the right direction, and we are hoping because our film hasn't been released in Brazil yet. It's going to be released in the beginning of the year, when most likely we will have in office a president who supports dictatorships. So we wonder how it's going to play. We hope we can reach as many people as we can with a message from Tito, because first, parents try to protect their kids from everything that is going on, but it's 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 impossible because kids get it, right? Because kids are just like us; they're human beings and they understand things that are happening, and we should talk to them about this. And we should talk to them because it's their world too, and there will soon be adults. And if they keep growing up in a world where this culture of fear is a normal thing, I think we will be in a pretty bad shape very soon. We are already on the verge of something very dark for Brazil and so many other countries, and 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 we just have to talk to the kids. Yeah, I think the kids have more to teach us adults about how to overcome fear than the other way around. And the film is really a lot about this, you know. So it's not about a superhero. It's not about kids with special powers. No, it's just about a kid who decides to face this very dark reality that surrounds him. So he has to get all the help he can find from his friends and even from his enemies to just deal with it. And the solution is not okay. There is some magic there because it's a film, but it's just a simple story. And in so many ways, I think it's really like it's really amazing that the whole thing that is happening, and to see the kind of path that led us here to this film, and even to be here in Hollywood talking about this and getting such a good response from the kids and from adults and from professionals. It's really we are trying, I mean, to reach as broad as an audience as we possibly can, because I think it's really about the message. And of course there is the aesthetics of the film that we really work hard to get to a level that is like beautiful and sophisticated, but that would work for the story. There are lots of things about the film, but it's really about the message.
And Daniel, I'm sorry I didn't introduce you when we started the interview. Daniel, producer of Tito and the Birds. How did you become involved with the project?
Actually, me and Gustavo, we come from the same city, São Paulo, but we met in Annecy, at Annecy in France. I was there in 2013 because I was one of the producers of another Brazilian movie called Rio 2096, a story of love and fury. We were the first Brazilian animated feature to be in competition in Annecy, and I was there because of the film, and Gustavo was there because he was in Annecy for the first time. Tito was in the financing process, so he went there to meet people, to have meetings, to have feedback on the script that he had.
To learn about animation because I knew nothing.
Yeah. And then the director of Rio 2096 introduced us. So after we came back from Annecy, we connected and we started talking about the project. I felt really attracted to the project because of the message of it. You know, I really thought it was something that needs to be done. This message needs to be put out to speak to kids, and so I got really interested into it. I was in the first year of my new company, and it was really important for us. Our mission was to give support to filmmakers to reach their goals, and Tito seemed like the perfect project. So me and my partner Felipe Sabino, we jumped into the project and we start working in it and put all our heart into it.
And Gustavo, I got a sort of a two-part question for you. So this was you were saying that this is your first foray into animation. What made you want to jump into that field of animation? I mean, that's a very tough medium to work in.
It's true, but it's very nice too. I mean, now that I've been through it, I'm totally in love with the thing. The main answer is like it. I think from the start, because of the story, I thought it was a story best told in animation. Also because they wanted to reach kids and talking about a difficult subject and about fear. So I thought it was the best way to do it because it would be just the best way to do it, more effective and everything else. Also from the point, because I'm also a producer, so from a producer's point of view, it's also a challenge to because I've been doing live action mostly, and I know how far foreign language live action can go. So I've been to many festivals, we've won awards, but it's really difficult to distribute foreign language films. So there was also this challenge to create something that could, I'm not saying we're going ever to, it's a small film, but I mean, it can get more international. Up to now, it has been living up to the expectations. I mean, we'll have different versions of the film, like in Spanish and in French and even Portuguese from Portugal. They are dubbing the film in Portuguese from Portugal because sometimes kids don't understand our accent. And of course, we'll have an English version, and we are going to get theatrical distribution in many different territories. We have China. So far, it has been quite amazing. Also, because of the process of production, I really love the whole way we can create animation, and yeah, pretty cool.
And actually, that actually feeds into what the other question I wanted to ask about. What was the process like of animating this movie? Because it seems like there are a combination of several different animation styles, and they're absolutely beautiful to look at. What was that process of animating that?
Well, we say the project took 8 years, but the first 5 years were like raising money and development and script, and then finding like Danielle and the other two co-directors, Gabriel Vittar and Becca Toto. So we were putting like the critical mass together so that we would have a project in place. And then the actual production took 3 years when we started for real, like when we had enough money, so that we didn't have all the money, but we had enough money so that we thought we could find the rest of the money during the process. And during the process of development of the film, which was very important, it was long. We did a lot of researches, and we came across expressionism as a big reference to tell a film about fear. So we were very excited when we thought, yeah, it's the way to go. And so we started to think how we would be able to do it, like, because of course we had limitations. There's always limitations in terms of budget and time and manpower that you can have in projects. So what we did is that we did the backgrounds in Photoshop. We selected some brushes that would emulate oil paint, but we also created our own library with actual oil paint strokes. We photographed it and we inserted them into Photoshop so that we could use the actual like oil paint strokes to create the backgrounds. Also, we knew from the start that compositing was going to play a big part in this project. It would really bring the aesthetics to the level that we were aiming at. It would bring a lot of value to the film. So we planned everything so that we knew from the start that in the compositing department, we would be able to add actual oil paint in certain moments. So we did have stop motion, frame by frame, oil paint painted by hand on glass, and that was done during the compositing. And we also extra stuff. We have extra stuff in oil paint too, like some of the extras, like most of the extras in the final scenes are like oil paint. So you see all the, because they're all already kind of transformed into the agni thing, the rocks, right? And we have like some leaves, and so the special effects are all oil paint. So you have like smoke, and we have water and light. Sometimes you see a car driving by, but it's not really a car. It's just a burst of oil paint that goes like this, and we complete it with the sound going vroom, so your brain understands it's a car. So we did all these sorts of things so that you would the film would arrive at this final look that we were aiming at, and you look at it and you say, oh, it's real oil paint, right? And it is real oil paint, of course, with a lot of digital in the background too. And the characters, they were animated in Toon Boom Harmony with cutout. But the way we designed the characters was also like, first we had like we designed them in such a way that they would integrate well with these very dense and very intense backgrounds. They wouldn't disappear there. And also the strategy that we use, that we don't have like external outlines for the characters. They're like shaped really with the lights and stuff, and they never have like very straight lines. That played an important part, so that the animators could actually draw by hand a lot during the animation process. On top of like it's cut off, but we do have a lot of drawings in specific moments, because when the film needed like more animation, we could do that. So it's a mixture of all these things to come to the final result.
And one last question. I was just wondering, because the cast of the movie, the voice actors are really great in it. And I know it can be, especially the kids, and I know that casting kids to play roles can be kind of difficult. If you could just briefly tell us what the casting process was like with regards to especially the characters like Tito, Teo, and what was the girl's name? Sarah? It was Sarah. Okay, I thought it was Sarah. But yeah, well, if you could tell us what that process was like.
Sure. I mean, for the adults, it's easy. We went after some of the top talents in Brazil. So they're like really well-known actors, and they're really great. And it was fun to work with with them because they never did. It was their first and original voices for animation, so they were really excited. They really supported the project. And for the kids, what we did, I knew from the start that I wanted to work with kids also as a strategy to create a more horizontal dialogue with the audiences, because I think the spontaneity and everything that you can get, the freshness that you can get from a child acting and doing the voices it just works well, right? So what we did, of course, was like a big casting campaign. So we announced that we were looking for child actors for the film. So we received a lot of submissions, and we tested a lot of kids until we found just the right kid for each role. And the kid who did Tito, he already did some soap operas in Brazil. Soap operas are big in Brazil, so he has a lot of experience.
A lot of dubbing for Disney.
A lot of dubbing for Disney also in Brazil. And fortunately enough, he's living in LA right now, and he's going to do the English version of himself. So he'll be dubbing Tito in English, which is quite, I think it's kind of cool.
No, that's pretty awesome. You don't see that often.
Yeah, and we also had the help, of Melissa Garcia, who she's the voice director, and she's really skilled on working with kids and getting them comfortable and getting the best out of them, and she did an amazing job of that.
Wow. Well, Gustavo and Daniel, thank you so much for speaking with us. We wish you all the best with this film.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.